Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our weekly briefing. Today we'll hear from Public Health, Madison-Dane County, from the Madison City Clerk's Office, and from the Madison City Attorney's Office. And as usual, we will start with Public Health. So today we have Kate Austin Stanford from Public Health, Madison-Dane County.
Good morning. My name is Kate Austin Stanford. I'm the Director of Operations for Public Health Madison-Dane County, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks for joining us, those folks who are watching it live. I do have some data to share and some additional updates this morning. So as of today, we have 15,065 cases of COVID-19 in Dane County. It took about 190 days to reach 7,500 cases. This was on September 12th, and only 46 days to double to 15,000 cases, and that's what we have today. We will release a snapshot this afternoon with some more specificity around the data, but I do have a few details that I can share now. The 14-day average is 217.6 cases per day, and this is up from 174.5 cases last week. Right now, there are 119 people hospitalized with COVID in Dane County, which is unfortunately another record day. We are seeing hospitalizations in every single age group. In September, 28% of cases resided outside of Madison, and in October so far, this number has increased to 56% of cases residing outside of the city. We are very concerned about the increasing trend of cases in our community. We need everyone to stay home as much as possible to stop the spread of COVID. Working from home, attending virtual gatherings and get-togethers, and using curbside or delivery ordering are still the safest and best options to protect yourself and to protect others. Stay home if you're sick or feel off. If you feel symptoms, please get tested. Assume you could come into contact with COVID-19 anytime you go out. This means you should monitor yourself for symptoms and minimize contact with others. And I also wanted to add and acknowledge that these increasing trends are coming at a really difficult time. We are heading into colder weather. We are experiencing fatigue with the pandemic. And we're coming into a season of celebrations and traditions that we all hold dear. Knowing that it is not safe to gather together how we'd like is frustrating, and it comes with grief and feelings of loss. And I understand this, and I'm feeling it too. However, we have to come to terms with the fact that this virus is still here, and it is spreading, and it will continue to spread if we try to get back to quote-unquote normal. Use this time over the next few weeks to think creatively about how you can celebrate safely, whether it is bundled up outdoors, physically distanced with masks, or connecting virtually with people you don't typically see during these times. This year, caring for your loved ones means keeping them safe from COVID. And we have a perfect opportunity to start that creativity and thinking differently with Halloween this weekend. So most importantly, a few reminders, but number one, we want to remind folks not to gather. This means no Halloween parties. Trick-or-treating can happen, but it does have to look different this year. If you're trick-or-treating, only trick-or-treat with people you live with, and please stay and trick-or-treat in your neighborhood. Wear a mask, another opportunity to get creative and make your cloth face covering part of your costume. And please don't come within 6 feet of groups of others. For those who are planning to hand out treats, set your bowl outside so trick-or-treaters can get candy without coming too close. Consider the placement of your bowl. So if you normally put your bowl just outside your door, maybe place it at the bottom of your steps or in your driveway. This way trick-or-treaters won't create a bottleneck in tighter spaces and lead to that to gathering that we're trying to avoid. Consider pre-packaging candy so there isn't extra time spent in that candy bowl, and consider placing hand sanitizer by your treats. And again, this is kind of the first of many opportunities coming up in this fall season to think differently about how we gather, to think differently about how we celebrate, and to be creative, to keep us safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Next, we'll hear from Mary Beth Witzel-Bell, our city clerk, with an update on the election season.
Thank you. Today is the deadline to request that we mail you an absentee, but if you are doing that today, it's cutting it pretty close. So I'd recommend taking a look at possibly voting absentee in person instead. We do need your absentee ballot by election day in order to count it. As of last night, we've issued 120,514 absentees. 107,738 of those have been returned to be counted. And those numbers include 18,497 voters who have cast their absentee ballots at our absentee voting sites. We've had 7,040 voters return their absentee ballot via Dropbox. And we currently have 190,261 registered voters. So just looking at the number of absentees that have been returned, that would be equivalent to about 57% voter turnout. And before the mail showed up just a few minutes ago, we were up to 89% of absentees having been returned. If voters are holding on to an absentee ballot that they need to get back to our office, it's cutting it a little too close to just guarantee that the post office is going to be able to deliver that by election day. So know that you can return your absentee ballot to a Dropbox or any of our absentee voting sites, or you could drop it off at your own polling place on election day. We'll have as many polling places on Tuesday as we ordinarily would, 92 locations. And we are following public health guidelines to keep those polling places safe for voters, for the poll workers, and for the observers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth, and thanks to you and your entire staff and all of our poll workers for the incredible work that you're doing in this election season. Next, we're going to hear from City Attorney Mike Haas, who's going to talk about election security and any other legal issues surrounding the election season.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to talk briefly from my experience and perspective working for the State Elections Agency for 12 years. And before we step into the frantic pace of Election Day, I would encourage everyone to appreciate how much elections administration has advanced since the 2000 Bush v. Gore election, and really since Congress passed the Help America Vote Act in 2002. We now, of course, have a statewide electronic voter registration system, which keeps our voter lists accurate and current. It also allows voters to register online and with a few clicks request an absentee ballot and get important ballot and election information. Municipalities and counties have invested heavily in new voting equipment, which is much more robust, accurate, and secure. We've seen a similar transformation in election security just over the last 4 years. I clearly remember at this time in 2016 when the Department of Homeland Security had just declared election systems as critical infrastructure, on par with other important systems such as financial institutions, utilities, and transportation. The fall of 2016 was when we first heard from Homeland Security about threats of foreign interference and the initial steps of intelligence agencies becoming part of the conversations surrounding elections. Now, DHS and the elections community are crucial partners in detecting, preventing, and responding to cybersecurity risks as well as physical threats to our election systems and equipment. Incorporating all of that information into our preparation has been added to the job description of election officials, including municipal clerks, who also have the role of chief logistics and mailing experts, chief recruiter of poll workers, technology guru, and effective communicator. Now, having witnessed that transformation in clerks across the state, I'm confident about two facts. First, across the state, we are light years ahead of our preparation in 2016 at the federal, state, and local levels. Second, Madison has one of the very best clerks in the state, in Mary Beth Witzel-Bale. I've always known that working at the state, but I have appreciated the chance to witness that up close and to work with her and her team. Now, the federal government is fond of saying it takes a whole of government approach to big issues and challenges. And Madison has certainly implemented that mentality, with Mary Beth leading the way, but with support from many officials and agencies, starting with the mayor and common council support. It has also included many city departments such as IT, emergency management, police and fire, traffic engineering, library, planning, parks, and engineering. If you recall, in April, Wisconsin received a lot of criticism about holding its primary election just as the pandemic was starting to affect our society. And whether you agreed with that decision or not, I think you cannot argue that we learned many lessons from conducting that election. Madison and the state evaluated how that election went and has implemented many improvements because of that experience. So we've not only taken a whole of government approach, but a whole of community approach in Madison. And that will affect how Election Day looks. People have responded to the call to help out as poll workers. Mary Beth and her staff have done an incredible job recruiting new poll workers. And voters have also responded to the call to vote early. As you heard, we have almost 108,000 return ballots. There are about 190,000 registered voters in the city of Madison and a voting age population of about 194,000. That means we will see an election day turnout that is much lighter than we're used to for a presidential election. The spring election total was only 95,000 ballots total in the city of Madison. And now there are only about 82,000 registered voters who have not yet participated. As far as election security, the city has coordinated its efforts internally and its communications with both city agencies and our outside partners. We have made contingency plans and we have exercised them. In addition, yesterday, Mary Beth and I participated in a meeting with observers, including representatives of political parties and other organizations that send observers to the polls. That meeting was attended by local representatives as well as 40 individuals and organizations statewide. So we hope that has been helpful to educate the public about the rules for election observers. As far as litigation, we're fortunate, especially compared to April. The rules seem to be set for this election with no pending litigation which might affect voting or the election on Tuesday. And I should be probably knocking on wood as I say that. We always want to remind the public to be mindful of incorrect information, whether it's intentional or not. It is easy for the public to find information on the internet which is just not true. And so we always encourage the public to know who your trusted sources are, and those are your election officials at the local and state level. I want to echo Mary Beth's reminder that ballots need to be in by 8 o'clock on Election Day. That was, of course, the subject of litigation, and we received questions even this week about the deadline. There is no extension for ballots at this election to be returned. Also be mindful that because of the number of absentee ballots that need to be processed on Election Day and just the sheer turnout, results may be a little bit later. Mary Beth's team seems to be really poised to compile results in a timely manner, but across the state, we may see some results that come in later. And of course, it should be no surprise, typically Milwaukee being the largest city is one of the last to report results. Those results will be found on the Dane County Clerk's website on election night. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And I think that the takeaway from what you just heard, both from the clerk and the city attorney, is that there are a plethora of city staff working very hard to deliver a safe, secure, and healthy election for the city of Madison. And so we want everybody to be confident that they have a number of ways they can vote, that their vote is safe, their ballot is secure, and that polling places will be safe, secure, and healthy on election day as well. I have a number of things to get through today, so please bear with me. I want to start just by emphasizing something that Kate from Public Health said, which is that we really have control over our actions in this pandemic, right? And so 3 things that you need to be remembering at all times: mask up, wash your hands, keep that 6-foot distance from folks that aren't in your household. And in the process of doing that, I want to emphasize 2 more things. And one is take care. Take care of yourselves, take care of your friends, of your family, take care of your mental health. It's getting a little chillier, but it's still nice out. So go outside, take a physically distanced walk with a friend, sit in the sun for a little bit. We're going into winter, and it's important for us to develop healthy habits to keep not just our physical selves well, but also our mental selves well. And then get creative. Get creative about seeing or visiting with friends, whether that's virtually or at an appropriate distance with masks on. Get creative about how you celebrate with your families. My birthday is actually November 3rd, so I'm hoping for a big turnout birthday present, but I am going to be celebrating virtually with my family. And so as you know, whether it's a birthday or a wedding or Halloween or Thanksgiving or, just Badger game day when they're playing again, please make sure that you're doing that in a creative and safe way. Then I just want to go through a couple more things about election season. You heard the incredible numbers from the city clerk. And I want to thank every single one of the 107,000+ folks who have already voted in the city, Madison, including people who are coming to our early vote sites or who have dropped off their ballots in our very snazzy ballot drop boxes. If you're not included in those numbers, please make your plan to vote now. You might have missed it earlier this week, but I was part of announcing an early voting challenge across the 5 largest cities in Wisconsin. And so Mayor Mason of Racine, Mayor Antaramian of Kenosha, Mayor Gingrich of Green Bay, and Mayor Barrett of Milwaukee and myself are competing against each other to see who can get the largest share of voters to vote early this election season. And so we are currently here in Madison ahead of Milwaukee, Kenosha, Racine, and Green Bay, but Kenosha is gaining on us. And I also challenged the mayors of Sun Prairie, Verona, Fitchburg, Middleton, and Monona to the same challenge. And I am very sorry to say that last I heard, Fitchburg is beating us, which I find completely unacceptable, Madison. So we need to make sure that we up our percentage of early vote and get that turnout. I do not want to lose to Fitchburg. So let me just go over some more information in case you don't have it. At this point in time, we're not encouraging you to mail back an absentee ballot if you have one, but instead to bring it to one of our drop boxes. We have 14 drop boxes around the city. There are 13 of them are at fire stations and one is in Elver Park. They're bright blue with the Madison flag on them, very easy to find, very easy to use. So if you have your absentee ballot, that's a great way to get it back to us. You can also drop an absentee ballot off at one of our early voting sites, and those include UW-Madison Memorial Union. There's a tent outside. Union South also has an outside tent. UW-Madison Student Activity Center has a tent. The Madison College Truax campus at the Human and Protective Services building, Madison College South campus in the parking lot behind the building, Edgewood College outside of Predlin Hall. And so all of these are options and more, both for you to drop your ballot off and for you to vote early if you want to. You can also vote early. So today and tomorrow you can vote at all of those sites. If you want to vote over the weekend, you need to come to either the city clerk's office downtown here on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, or go to one of our voting sites at a library. And those include Goodman South Library, Lakeview Library, Meadow Ridge Library, Penny Library, Hawthorne Library, and Sequoia Library. And the libraries are generally open from 12 to 6 on weekdays and from 1 to 4 on Saturdays for early voting. The clerk's office is open 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. on weekdays, 1 to 5 on Saturdays, and 1 to 5 on Sundays. All right, and then so if you are going to use the drop box, you have to get your ballot to a drop box by Monday at 5 p.m. After that, the drop boxes will be closed. And if you want to return your ballot on Election Day, you need to take it directly to your polling place. If you want to vote on November 3rd at your polling place, please double check where your polling places is. Visit cityofmadison.com/clerk for all your voting related information, and you can find out which of the 92 polling places that we will have open you should go to based on your address. If by some chance you or someone in your family is hospitalized, you can still vote. Hospitalized voters can appoint an agent to retrieve their presidential election absentee ballot from the clerk's office, deliver that ballot to the hospital, the voter can vote, and then return that ballot to the city clerk's office. Again, cityofmadison.com/clerk for more information, or give them a call and they can help you out. I also want to emphasize that we have a high degree of confidence in our city clerk and the procedures that they have in place for keeping the election secure and making sure that every ballot is counted. They posted a great blog with more information about what happens after the polls close. So again, cityofmadison.com/clerk. If you want to read more about election security and what happens to your ballot, how it's counted after the, and then what happens after the polls close with the reporting of results. And I want to appreciate the clerk's office for sharing such good, clear information. Don't forget, they also have a podcast if you want to geek out on how elections work. All right, switching topics now, I just want to briefly touch on homeless services. One of our priorities in the pandemic has been to make sure that people who don't currently have homes are taken care of. So we have expanded our shelter capacity, and in collaboration with Dane County are housing a number of folks in hotels. And as you may have heard recently, we are trying to find a site for a new permanent men's shelter. We're also working on expanding capacity over the winter, and so there's a number of things going on. First of all, we are actively working to increase the capacity at the Warner Park Center so we can house more people there for as long as we need to. We are also actively working on a larger option for the winter so that if we do have a higher demand, we'll be able to accommodate that. and we're working actively on a long-term solution for a new men's shelter. And I want to thank the county executive for putting funding into his budget to support that. And I'm hopeful the city is going to match that. I'm hopeful that we will have more details on that very shortly. Also want to note that the council brought forward several budget amendments to increase funding for outreach workers, which is definitely a need in the community. And so one of those amendments passed at Finance Committee, and we'll consider, I think, another when we go through the budget in November. Speaking of, the executive operating budget was amended by the Finance Committee, and it will go to the full Common Council next. Alders have until November 4th to propose additional amendments. If you want to comment on the budget process or ask Alders to propose particular amendments, you can email them at allalders@cityofmadison.com. That budget will be taken up next November 10th, and we'll see how many nights it takes us to get through both the capital and operating budgets. Next, I have some exciting announcements about personnel. Firstly, I'm really pleased to announce that Ruben Sinan will be joining my staff as a deputy mayor next week. He most recently served as the communications and diversity strategist for the city of Sun Prairie, and was working closely with neighborhood navigators to engage and empower underserved communities. Before that, he served as a program director at the Mortgage Center for Public Service at UW, pairing students with community organizations and creating, managing, and maintaining relationships with over 90 community partner organizations across Dane County. His first day on the job is November 2nd, and I'm very pleased to welcome him to the city. Also announced that Joe Grande, who is the current water quality manager for the Madison Water Utility, will serve as the interim general manager of the water utility while we recruit a new general manager. The current general manager, Tom Heikkinen, has submitted his resignation in September, and he'll be leaving us in the new year. So I want to thank Joe for stepping up to take this on, and thank the entire water utility for working with us through this transition. Then switching gears again, today or this week is the final week of Walktober. And so from the 25th to the 31st, we've been encouraging you to get out and explore your own neighborhood, to try a different route than the one you normally walk, get a new perspective, and reflect on what you enjoy about your neighborhood. If you see something that could make walking easier and safer, you can find out more about the City of Madison Traffic Engineering neighborhood programs. And if you visit cityofmadison.com/traffic engineering, and how you can be a part of improving walking in your neighborhood. Also on the traffic engineering front, we have another Vision Zero announcement. So again, Vision Zero is a data-driven strategy that is intended to eliminate traffic deaths and severe injuries on our city streets by 2030. And so beginning on the 26th, we moved on to our next stage of speed changes in our citywide effort around Vision Zero. And so the posted speed limit on Prairie Road from Raymond Road to Maple Grove Road changed from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour. And similar to our recent changes on East Washington Ave and Milwaukee Street, there will be signboards and new signage to remind you of the new speed limit. Coming yet this year, we expect to make changes on Gammon Road, McKenna Boulevard, and Post Road, so stay tuned for those. We chose Prairie Road because it's a residential street with an elementary school and a large neighborhood park. And lowering the speed limit even 5 miles per hour helps ensure the safety of all who use our city streets, especially kids and people who are walking or biking. All right, switching gears again, we have a great opportunity. Everyone on Madison is offering free computer classes and a chance to get a free computer at our Madison public libraries. They're putting together a free 5-week course for basic computer skills that will be held at the Central Library from November 2nd through December 11th of 2020. The class is available in both English y también en español. And participants who attend at least 2 of the 5 classes can earn a free computer. Class size is limited, so we are giving priority to adults with caseworker referrals or adults from low-income households. Everyone on Madison collaborates with local nonprofits and government agencies, and they are part of Dane and are sponsored by the City of Madison and the Madison Public Library. You can sign up for those classes by visiting everyoneonmadison.org. That's all spelled out, everyoneonmadison.org, or by calling 608-274-3107. Y en español, email jorge@danenet.org. And you have to be 18 years old to qualify for these classes. Finish off by reminding folks of community resources. If you are homeless or in danger of losing your housing, please call our housing helpline. That number is 608-264-0549, or email housinginfo@cityofmadison.com. If you need help with phone service or internet service, call the State Public Service Commission at 608-267-3595. If you need help finding a child care provider, call Community Coordinated Child Care at 608-216-7022. If you need help accessing emergency food options or any other social services in our community, call United Way of Dane County at 211 or text your zip code to 898-211. And we are offering at the city a financial navigator resource hotline to help you navigate financial issues related to the COVID-19 pandemic. The website for that is cityofmadison.com/financial hotline, or call 608-315-5151. These resources and more are posted at cityofmadison.com. Just click on the community resources link. And finally, upcoming meetings on today, Thursday the 29th at 5 p.m. We have a Plan Commission meeting. Friday the 30th at 9 a.m., the Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District Commission meets. At 4:30 p.m. on Friday, the Common Council Executive Committee will meet to consider appointing a new District 7 alder. On Monday the 2nd at 5 p.m., the Landmarks Commission meets, and on Wednesday the 4th at 4:30, the Urban Design Commission will meet, and at 5:30, the Madison Arts Commission will meet. All of these are online virtual meetings, and you can learn about them and many more at cityofmadison.com. Click on the calendar, the meetings calendar. All right. That was a lot from me, but I imagine we have questions.
Yes, we have 2 questions, one for public health and another for the clerk's office.
Okay, we'll start with public health.
Good morning, Kate.
Good morning.
The question for you is, the lines at Alliant have been extremely long for several days. You have said that those long lines are an anomaly in the past, yet the wait time continues to be long. Are you going to make any changes to the testing process at Alliant, or continue to suggest that people don't go during busiest times?
Thank you for the question. Yes, our testing center at Alliant is a really incredible resource. And I first want to acknowledge and express my gratitude for our staff, for the National Guard who's been supporting us there, for the city and county employees that are supporting us as well in that testing center. It's been serving as a model for the state and nationally as well. And we've learned a lot in the number of months that it's been open. And we continue to make process improvements with new information that comes forward throughout the process. We have, as I mentioned earlier, unprecedented levels of COVID in our community. And that means there's also more folks seeking testing. So we are seeing lines, but we're not seeing lines evenly distributed across the days. We have made additional improvements very recently, including shifting the entrance for our flu clinic that is also happening at the Alliant Energy Center to the Olin entrance out there to improve the process flow. And we're actually seeing our most efficient throughput to date just this week. We do recommend that folks visit our website. We do have up-to-date wait times on the website if you're curious about what it could look like day to day. Tuesdays are our busiest day, so we are still suggesting that we really keep that day for folks that are experiencing symptoms that need the test that day. For folks who are testing for curiosity, a possible exposure in anticipation of an event, our first suggestion is to please avoid gathering altogether, avoid traveling, and if you can, wait until later in the week to test when the lines are a bit less. Again, please visit our website for most up-to-date information on the wait times.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks.
Good morning, Mary Beth.
Morning.
The question for you says, clearly this is a year unlike any other that has resulted in unprecedented numbers of people voting by mail and voting absentee. What do you think this means for elections going forward?
Well, we might see voting patterns change going forward. We know that February and April will not be like what we would have originally anticipated. And so looking at past statistics isn't necessarily going to be all that helpful. We need to be prepared for just about anything now.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Mayor, the last question also asks for your thoughts on that. What do you think about elections going forward?
Oh, sure. Well, so I think that, the first thing to say is that I'm just, again, how impressed I am with the incredible work that the clerk's office has done with support from many other city agencies to put on elections during a pandemic. And as Mary Beth just said, we obviously need to be planning for February and April. We don't expect conditions to have changed that much, and so we'll be having to adjust those elections as well. And I think in the bigger picture, I think a lot of people have discovered how easy it is to vote absentee or to vote early. And I think that we may see increased numbers there. What I hope we see, not just here in Madison, but across the state and across the country, is what I consider really a best practice that the clerk's office engages in, and that is after every election, they do a debrief, they consider what went well, what didn't go well, what they need to change, and in particular, after the April election, the clerk's office went through a racial equity analysis to understand how to best provide equitable access to the ballot box here in the city of Madison. And that's something that I think we need to continue to do, and that I hope that other jurisdictions, again, all across this country will do. And perhaps, we will see the spread of some of these innovations, the drop boxes, the early voting, the curbside voting, and also the public health practices that we'll continue to, again, do here in Madison, but spread all across the country. I think that the more we can do to increase access to voting for everyone, the better. Any other questions?
That's it for today, Mayor.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for tuning in. And please remember to mask up Madison, wash your hands, and if you're not near a sink, go ahead and sanitize. Have a great day.